My terminally ill ex-wife lied to everyone, so I exposed the truth at her funeral. It was a Tuesday afternoon, just past 4 p.m., and I was halfway through unloading groceries when my phone buzzed. The caller ID read Jess Clayton, one of the few mutual friends I hadn't completely cut out after the divorce. I hadn't heard from her in months. Part of me hesitated before answering. I wish I hadn't. "Luke," she said, her voice low and weirdly gentle. "It's about Rachel." My stomach clenched. Rachel Montgomery. My ex-wife. We'd been together for nearly 20 years, high school sweethearts, college roommates, married at 25. 12 years in a marriage that cracked slowly, then shattered all at once. We tried for kids. She miscarried 2 years into the marriage. After that, she changed. Grew distant. Cold. I stuck around. Thought she needed time. Support. Space. Turns out, she needed something else entirely, someone else. I found out about the affair from a woman I didn't even know, the wife of the guy Rachel had been screwing. Months. It had been going on for months before I ever had a clue. I confronted Rachel. She denied. Then she cried. Then she said the words I can't unhear. "It just happened, Luke." I felt invisible. Before we go further, don't forget to like this story, hit subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss what happens next. We were done within a week. 2 years had passed since the divorce. 2 years of rebuilding my life, one brutal piece at a time. I wasn't dating seriously. I wasn't exactly happy, but I was healing. Then Jess called, and everything slammed right back into me. "Rachel has pancreatic cancer. Stage 4. It's terminal." I didn't say anything. "She's asking for you, Luke. She wants to see you." I laughed. A single, bitter exhale. "Now she wants to see me?" Jess continued, soft and almost apologetic. Not in a romantic way. "She says she's scared. She's alone. She trusts you. She said you were always her safe place." That part stung more than it should have. I'd spent years being her rock, through grief, through mood swings, through those long nights she'd shut down completely. And when I needed honesty, she gave it to someone else. Now she wanted me back, not as a husband, but as her emotional security blanket while she died? No. Hell no. But I didn't say that. I told Jess I'd think about it. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, running through every memory like a highlight reel from a nightmare. The cold silences. The half-truths. The way Rachel avoided me for weeks before I discovered the affair. And then I remembered something else. The night she miscarried. She cried in my arms, said it felt like her body was broken. I stayed up all night holding her, feeding her soup, scheduling appointments, being the husband she said she needed. But after the divorce, I found out from a friend of hers that she had reconnected with an old flame during that same year. I never pressed for details. Now I couldn't stop wondering. What if I was mourning something that wasn't even mine? The next day, I called Jess back. "I'm not promising anything," I said. "I understand. Just, she's not asking for much." "She's asking for everything," I snapped. "She's asking me to carry her guilt while she checks out guilt-free." Jess was silent. Then she said, "Maybe she just wants someone to look at her like a person again before it's over." I didn't make a decision right then. Instead, I drove past the care center Jess mentioned, a quiet place tucked behind a row of maples just outside Colorado Springs. The kind of place where the end of life feels padded and polite. Her car wasn't there. I sat in the parking lot for 20 minutes. Then I left. Back at home, I kept replaying Jess's words. "You were her safe place." That part made me feel sick. Because it was true, and she burned it down anyway. But what really pushed me to the edge wasn't the betrayal. It was what Jess said as I was about to hang up. She told her family you left because you couldn't handle the miscarriage. That you just emotionally checked out. I stopped breathing. What? That's the story they know, Luke. That you couldn't handle a broken wife. I saw red. She rewrote the story. Made me the villain. I spent years blaming myself for not being stronger, more patient, and she let her family believe I walked out on her because she lost a baby? That was the moment I made my decision. Not for her. Not for comfort. Not even for closure. But for truth. I texted Jess. "Tell Rachel I'll stop by." Once. I told myself I was prepared. That I'd walk in, see her, feel nothing. That I was only there for one reason. To look her in the eye and make her own it. But the second I stepped through those sliding glass doors at Cedarview Palliative, all that bravado shriveled into something tight and ugly in my chest. The front desk nurse gave me a once-over, then asked, "You're here for Ms. Montgomery?" Even hearing her last name again made me want to turn around. Her room was at the end of the West Wing. Number 317. The hallway smelled like bleach and sadness. I stood outside her door for a solid 30 seconds before knocking. No answer. I knocked again. "Rachel?" I said, just above a whisper. Come in, came a soft voice. I pushed the door open. She was lying in bed, thinner than I'd ever seen her. Her hair, once long, black, always styled, was short, patchy, and gray at the roots. There were tubes, machines, quiet beeping sounds. But her eyes? Still sharp. Still Rachel. She smiled. Luke. That smile made me nauseous. Hey, I said, barely managing it. I wasn't sure you'd come. Neither was I. She laughed, weak but familiar. I didn't sit down, just hovered near the door. The room was decorated, as if trying to pretend this wasn't where people came to die. Flowers. A small digital picture frame cycling through old family shots. One paused on a picture of us, 10 years younger, grinning with our arms around each other at a friend's wedding. I wanted to smash it. You look good, she said. I don't. Well, better than me. Rachel, why am I here? She blinked. Because I asked? No. I mean, why now? After everything. Why me? She looked away. Because you're the only person I ever felt truly seen by. I laughed, bitter, sharp. You cheated on me. Lied to everyone. Let your family believe I abandoned you. Her face fell. I didn't tell them everything. You didn't tell them the truth. Silence. She shifted under the covers, like she was trying to find strength that didn't exist. I couldn't bear being the bad guy. So you may be the villain instead? She looked at me, eyes glassy now, but no tears. It was easier. I turned away. Looked at the window. At the distant mountains. Anything but her. Do they all think I just walked out? That I left because you miscarried? They think you gave up. I gave you everything. I stayed when it got hard. I stayed when you shut down. When you locked yourself in the bathroom for hours. When you told me I couldn't touch you. When you stopped saying I love you. I stayed. She said nothing. I finally sat down. Not out of comfort, out of sheer exhaustion. I took a deep breath. Was it just the one affair? Her eyes flicked to mine, then away. No, of course not. How many? 3. My chest hollowed out. Were they during our marriage? All of them. The miscarriage. I trailed off. She swallowed. I don't know who the father was. My hands clenched the armrest so hard my knuckles turned white. I wanted to scream. To curse. To walk out and never come back. Instead, I just said, you let me mourn that child like it was mine. She whispered, it might have been. I stood up. Grabbed my coat. I think I'm done here. She didn't stop me. Didn't beg or cry. Just nodded. I don't blame you. As I reached the door, she spoke again. I asked for you because I wanted forgiveness. I paused. Turned. You don't get to ask for that. Not like this. Not as a dying wish. Then what do I get? Truth. You get truth. And I'm going to make sure everyone hears it. Then I walked out. I didn't go home right away. I drove around aimlessly for over an hour, replaying every word, every glance, every lie. She didn't look like the Rachel I remembered. But the way she twisted truth into comfort? That was the same as ever. Just called me later that night. How'd it go? She's still lying. Did you get what you needed? No. But I got the truth. She was quiet for a second. You're gonna tell her family? They deserve to know. Even if it ruins her legacy. You think they'll believe you? I laughed. They don't have to. I've got proof now. Because before I left the hospital, I grabbed the USB drive on her nightstand. I don't think she meant for me to see it. But I did. And it's filled with everything. The USB drive was small, cheap, unmarked. I found it under a copy of her living will and a pamphlet titled, Dying with Dignity. I don't think she meant for me to see it. At least not yet. But after everything she told me, and everything she didn't, I wasn't exactly in a patient mood. When I got home, I plugged it into my laptop. It was full of audio files. Dozens. Each labeled with dates. Each no longer than 10 minutes. The earliest one was from 9 months ago. The newest? Just 5 days before I visited. I clicked play on the first one. Rachel's voice came through, soft but calm, like she was rehearsing a monologue. March 3rd. I saw the scan today. The doctor didn't even blink when he said the word terminal. He asked if I had anyone to call. I said no. That wasn't true. But it felt easier. I listened. To everyone. Hours passed. And with each recording, she unraveled herself, like peeling back layers of skin until all that was left was blood and bone. By the 6th file, things got darker. April 2nd. I told Jess I wanted to see Luke. She asked if I wanted to apologize. I said, not really. But I don't want to die as a villain. Isn't that selfish? To want grace without confession? She was aware. That's what hit me the hardest. She knew what she'd done. She just didn't want to be remembered for it. Then came the confession I didn't expect. May 18th. The affair that ended everything, it wasn't the only one. I think there were 5. Maybe 6. Some didn't last long. Some were just noise. But the one with Jeremy, that was real. That one scared me. Because he made me feel alive when Luke made me feel safe. I hit pause. Jeremy. The guy who had the gall to come to our wedding anniversary party once. The one who toasted to forever love. He was one of them? I started trembling. I clicked the next file. June 9th. I faked the first miscarriage. The bleeding wasn't that bad. The ER visit was real, but the drama? The tears? All staged. I knew it wasn't Luke's. I knew he'd leave if he found out. I panicked. I stood up, nearly knocked over the chair. My heart was pounding like I'd just been hit in the chest with a bat. She faked it. That night, the soup, the crying, the hours I spent curled around her like a shield, it was a performance. And I bought every damn second of it. I kept listening. I don't know why. It was like watching a building burn, too horrifying to turn away. August 1st. I almost told Luke the truth after the third affair. He brought home this photo album, said he wanted to start fresh. I remember staring at the cover and thinking, if I tell him now, he'll still forgive me. And then, I didn't. August 12th. I lied to my parents. Told them Luke shut down after the miscarriage. That he stopped loving me. I needed someone on my side. I didn't want to look like the one who gave up. September 4th. I wonder if Luke will visit me. I want him to. I think I miss him. Or maybe I miss what he thought I was. By the 10th recording, I was done. I closed the laptop. Sat in the dark. Stared at the wall. How do you even begin to process that level of betrayal? Not just infidelity. Not just lies. But calculated, cold-blooded manipulation, even in death. And yet, there was a part of me that didn't feel anger anymore. It was something else. Sadness. Pity, maybe. For a woman so terrified of being seen as flawed that she built an entire world of lies just to survive herself. 2 days later, I went back to the hospice. Told Jess I needed 10 minutes. Rachel was sleeping when I walked in, but she stirred when she heard the door. Luke. Yeah, you came back. I found the USB. Her eyes widened. For the first time, she didn't look composed. She looked scared. You listened. All of it. Then you know that you never really loved me. She closed her mouth. Looked away. I walked to the window. Stared out. You know what the worst part is? What? You were right. I was safe. I would have forgiven you. I would have stayed. I would have raised a kid that wasn't mine if you'd told me the truth. I know. And you didn't care. I cared, she whispered. Just not enough. That line? That'll haunt me longer than any betrayal. Before I left, she asked me, will you still come to the funeral? Why would I? Because you're the only person who knows me. Really knows me. Then maybe I'll come. And tell them exactly what I know. She didn't respond. Didn't cry. Just nodded. Like she knew it was fair. Rachel died 5 days later. It was quiet. Peaceful. Jess said she passed in her sleep, hand in hand with one of the hospice nurses she'd grown close to. She hadn't left any final message for me. Not a note. Not a text. Not even a whispered goodbye. Just the audio files. And those said enough. The funeral was held at a small chapel just outside Denver. Nothing fancy. A single wreath of lilies. About 50 people gathered. Family. Friends. Former co-workers. Some of the people I used to know. Some I hadn't seen since the wedding. Her parents were there. Still believing their daughter was the victim of a husband who couldn't handle grief. Still looking at me like I was a ghost they'd rather never see again. I wasn't going to speak. I told myself I'd come, sit in the back, and leave before anyone could corner me. But then the priest opened the floor. If anyone would like to share a memory or say a few words, the floor is yours. There was a long pause. Then Jess nudged me. Do it, she whispered. I stood up, walked to the front. The room hushed. Eyes tracked my every step. I stood behind the podium, looked out across the faces. Some sad, some skeptical. One or two, like her parents, quietly hostile. Then I spoke. I was Rachel's husband. The words felt heavy. True, even now. We were married for 12 years. And for most of those years, I thought we were happy. I thought we were healing after a miscarriage. I thought we were building something real. I paused. I thought wrong. There was a shuffle in the front row. Her mother stiffened. I found out, not from her, but from someone else, that she was cheating on me. That she had been, for a long time. At first, I thought it was one mistake. One lapse in judgment. Something we could maybe work through. I looked straight at her father. But it wasn't one affair. There were several. All while I thought we were trying to rebuild our lives. I could feel the tension now, people shifting, glancing at each other. I kept going. After the divorce, Rachel told people I left because I couldn't handle her grief. That I abandoned her when she was broken. And most of you believed her. Because she was good at telling stories. Another beat. Let them feel it. She was very good at telling stories. What she didn't tell you is that she faked her first miscarriage, that she knew the baby might not be mine, that she built a lie around that tragedy so she wouldn't have to face the consequences. A gasp from someone in the back. I didn't stop. I'm not here to spit on her grave. I'm here because if we're going to remember her, we should remember the whole person, not just the part she let you see. I looked down for a moment. I loved her. God help me, I did. Even when I knew I shouldn't. I stayed long after she stopped being my wife in any real sense. I stayed because I hoped. Because I believed people could come back from their worst moments. She didn't. Silence. You could hear a pin drop. Rachel left behind a lot of pain. But she also left behind something else. A reminder that truth always finds its way out, no matter how carefully you bury it. I stepped back. Walked down the aisle. No one moved. No one spoke. Just eyes wide. Mouth shut. In grief, twisted in shock. Outside, just caught up with me. You dropped a bomb in there. Yeah. Do you regret it? No, her parents didn't say anything to me. Didn't make a scene. Didn't even look me in the eye. But later that night, just called. Rachel's mom wants to know what to do with the ashes. What do you mean? They don't want them anymore. Not after what you said. I'm not taking them. They said she wanted you to have them. I laughed a hollow, sharp. Tell them to scatter them at the lake. The one she never actually liked, but always pretended she did. The next day, a box showed up at my door. Her ashes. I didn't open it. Just shoved it into a closet I don't use. Maybe one day I'll decide what to do with it. Maybe not. After the funeral, I thought it would end. I thought I'd spoken my truth, put it all out there, and that would be the final note of a long, bitter song. I was wrong. The phone calls started the next morning. Most were anonymous, blocked numbers, unknown IDs. I didn't pick up. The voicemails, though? They were a mix. Some quiet, some furious. One was her cousin, calling me a vindictive son of a bitch. Another? Her college roommate, whispering, I always wondered. Then there were the emails. More than I expected. Some of them apologizing for believing her story. Others demanding I retract what I said, out of respect. But respect, to me, means telling the truth, not protecting a fantasy. Just checked in after a few days. They're talking about you like you committed a crime. Telling the truth isn't illegal. Maybe not. But it breaks people's delusions. Then let them shatter. She paused. Rachel's parents, they're struggling. Her mom's having panic attacks. Her dad says he doesn't know who she was anymore. I didn't say what I was thinking. That maybe they never did. That maybe they only ever saw what Rachel wanted them to see. 3 days later, I got a package. No return address. Just a slim manila envelope and a handwritten note on top. We don't want this anymore. Maybe you do something better with it than we could. Inside? The urn. Rachel's ashes. I stood there staring at it for what felt like forever. I couldn't bring myself to open it. It didn't feel real. It felt like a metaphor, her final burden, passed off to the last man who cared enough to tell the truth. I shoved the urn into the coat closet. Not out of spite. Just because I didn't know what else to do with it. I didn't want to scatter it. Didn't want to keep it. And I definitely didn't want it to become some shrine to a version of her that never existed. I told myself I'd deal with it later. But later became a week. Then 2. Then something arrived that I hadn't expected. A padded envelope. No note. Just my name on the front, in handwriting I recognized instantly. Rachel's. Inside? A small flash drive. And a key. I stared at them both for a while, then loaded the drive onto my computer. It was just one file. A video. Rachel appeared on screen, sitting in what looked like her hospice room. Pale. No makeup. Hair wrapped in a scarf. Eyes sunken, but alert. She looked directly into the camera and began. If you're watching this, I guess I'm gone. Or close to it. And no, this isn't an apology. I know I already gave you the USB. I know what was on it. I wanted you to know everything. She shifted, looked down, then back up. But there's something I didn't include. Something I couldn't say while I was alive. I leaned forward, braced. Luke, I loved you. Not in the way you wanted. Not in the way you deserved. But in the only way I knew how. Which, looking back, wasn't love at all. It was fear. You made me feel safe, and safety scared me. So I chased danger instead. I didn't blink. She continued. I had a child, Luke. I didn't tell you. I had a termination before our anniversary. It wasn't yours. It was Jeremy's. I didn't want to carry it. I didn't want to hurt you again. So I made it disappear. I froze. Every muscle in my body tensed. She had another abortion, without telling me, and still showed up to that anniversary dinner like everything was fine. She smiled in that video as soft, wistful, tired. You deserved better. I think that's why I pushed you away. Because deep down, I knew I wasn't the woman you loved. I was a version of her. A hollowed-out echo. I don't want forgiveness. I'm not asking for it. I just want you to know the truth. All of it. Because if anyone deserves peace, it's you. She paused one last time, then ended it. Goodbye, Luke. The screen went black. I sat there for a long time. Not crying. Not shaking. Just empty. There are some truths that don't bring peace. Only clarity. The key? I never figured out what it opened. Maybe a box. Maybe a storage unit. Or maybe it was just her last way of reminding me that there'd always be one more locked door between us. I didn't sleep the night I watched Rachel's last video. I don't think I even moved. I just sat on the floor of my living room, staring at the black screen long after the video ended, her words echoing inside my head like they were trapped in a tunnel with no exit. I had a child. It wasn't yours. I made it disappear. I wanted to feel rage. But what I felt was worse. Nothing. Like something inside me had burned out completely. I kept the key in my desk drawer. I never used it. Maybe I was afraid of what it might unlock. Or maybe I knew. It didn't matter anymore. She was gone. And so was the version of myself I used to be with her. Weeks passed. The world didn't stop. Bills came. Groceries needed buying. I still had to show up to work, make small talk, pretend like I hadn't just lived through an emotional war zone. People asked about the funeral. I gave neutral answers. It was fine. Peaceful. She's at rest now. All lies. But those were the lies they needed. I wasn't giving anyone the truth anymore. Not unless they earned it. Just came by one afternoon. Brought coffee. Sat on the couch like she belonged there. We hadn't been close, not really. But she was the only one who saw the whole mess from both sides. She was quiet for a long time. Then finally asked, "Do you think she loved you?" It was the wrong question. "I think she loved the idea of me," I said. "But I think the real me scared her." "Why?" "Because I stayed. And she didn't know what to do with someone who didn't leave." Jess nodded slowly, then reached into her bag. "She asked me to give you this." It was a letter. Handwritten. The last one. I waited 3 more days before opening it. Not because I was scared, but because I wasn't sure I had the energy to absorb more pain. When I finally read it, it wasn't what I expected. "Luke, if you're reading this, then you've already seen the worst of me. I won't ask for forgiveness. I've done that enough already in my own mind, in my sleep, in every mirror I've looked into since you left. I told myself for a long time that what I did made sense, that I was searching for something real. But what I was really doing was hiding. You were my anchor. You made things feel safe. And I confused that safety with boredom. That was my failure, not yours. I hated the way you loved me. Not because it wasn't enough, but because it made me realize how empty I really was. I hope you find someone who doesn't need saving, who doesn't flinch at honesty, who doesn't make you feel like love is a game you're always losing. You deserved better. You still do. I didn't leave you because you failed me. I left because I failed myself. Do with this letter what you want. Burn it. Frame it. Forget it. Just know in the end, I thought of you. Rachel. I folded it back up, placed it in the fire pit outside, and watched it burn. The ashes stayed in my coat closet until the first snow. I woke up that morning, looked outside, and something clicked. I took the urn, wrapped it in a flannel blanket, and drove 2 hours north to a lake we used to visit during the good years. The lake she once called boring when she was drunk but always posted about like it was a romantic memory. It was quiet when I got there. No one around. I walked out to the edge, unscrewed the top, and said exactly one sentence. "Here's what's left." Then I poured them into the wind. The ash scattered. Some of it hit the water. Some of it hit my boots. I didn't cry. I didn't kneel or say a prayer. I just stood there until I couldn't feel my hands anymore. Then I turned around and left. No, life isn't clean. There's no neat resolution. No emotional ribbon tied around the mess. But I breathe easier. I sleep without replaying her voice in my head. I see her in memories now, not nightmares. And maybe that's enough. Not peace, but distance. People like to say the dead deserve dignity. I think the living do, too. And sometimes dignity looks like walking away from the wreckage, not with bitterness, but with clarity. Rachel never got to own the damage she caused while she was alive. But I did. And I told the truth. Not for her. For me. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear it too.